Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Shammy. I'm here with Christine Courtney from the Leadership Program, and we are here to talk about amplifying your leadership, a place where we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the leadership concepts we talk about in our workshop and leadership sessions. So today, we're going to be looking at the situational leadership framework, specifically the differences between the directing style and the coaching style. So Christine, I'm going to start off by asking you a question. You're the president of our organization and you work with all different kinds of businesses and organizations. The question I have for you is, thinking about the directing style and the coaching style, what are the major differences that you see between those two styles in the real workplace?
Yeah, I think probably if you were to look at most people, they're doing a combination of those things, right? And I think what's great about the situational leadership framework is it allows us to have an opportunity to kind of step back and go, wait a minute, am I just doing this because this is who I'm comfortable being, or is this what they really need? And so what it allowed me to do was with my staff was to stop just being the kind of leader that I think I should be, and instead look at people and like take a moment to kind of observe them, see where they are, and then from that, then kind of diagnose them in terms of their developmental level, and then see how to approach. So oftentimes, because of my preference, I will go to coaching first. And in fact, I see a lot of leaders do this, we skip the directing phase because it's not as comfortable for us. One, it takes more time. It takes a little more patience because you have to sit there and like show them what you want. You have to direct them. You have to make sure they have clear goals. And we have a fear of micromanaging, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to just go, you're great. You're this enthusiastic new kid. Go get them. Yes, I believe in you. You're so wonderful. We want to give all those kind of positive supports that they honestly don't need. And the kind of more I see people making these mistakes, including myself, I start going, okay, they don't need a lot of that in the beginning. They need a lot of clear goals, a lot of clear direction. And if I can just provide that to them, there's going to be plenty of time for me to coach and perk them up a little bit later. So I think that's the main difference I see.
Two things I'm hearing. One is that you're really doing an assessment based on each individual of where they're at. So you can't just apply the model the same way to every person. You're taking in where they're at, you're meeting them where they're at, and then you're really trying to lead them from that place. And the second thing I'm picking up is this difference between directing and coaching, how we have to really front load our attention in the directing phase style, where it may seem like we're micromanaging, but what we're actually doing is making sure that the person is understanding the task at hand and understanding how to complete the task effectively.
Yeah.
So
they
that
want
they
that
can,
more than anything. They
right.
want to be, people want to be successful. And they ultimately don't want to need your coaching, right? Ultimately. So when they come in in that first stage one, and they're an enthusiastic beginner, which is what we call that first quadrant, you don't need to be enthusiastic also, right? We love to coach people who are enthusiastic, but it's not necessarily what they need. And as a leader, the hope is that you have many people reporting to you in your career. And if you spent time, the amount of time that coaching takes, which is high supportive, high directive behavior, you're going to be exhausted by the end of the day. So as I have to look at all the people I have, and hopefully you have some that are enthusiastic beginners. Maybe you have one that's a disillusioned learner that needs the coaching, right? That needs that highly supportive, highly directive. And then hopefully you have some people that are over there in those other two quadrants, which are cautious but capable contributors, and then the self-reliant achievers. And so really what I'm always trying to encourage people to do is come in with that new person, that enthusiastic person. Let them be enthusiastic, and you use that to let them also be successful, and so that you're clear on your direction. You're spending time working on their goals with them and making sure they're clear. When they mess up, which they will, because that's the part of learning, that I'm then coming back as the leader going, okay, I must not have been clear on this goal, or I must not have somehow been clear on the how to do this task. So since you're new, let's go back and look at this again. And so I'm taking responsibility for the mistake, right? And then I'm giving them another opportunity to succeed, because clarity is kindness. Oftentimes we want to just take that person that's new and delegate to them right away, God forbid, or just say, you got this, right? I'm busy over here. And then all of a sudden they become a disillusioned learner very fast. And then you really do need to do.
Yeah, well, most people don't, don't do the job effectively, because not because they don't want to do the job effectively, it's because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it properly. And so really taking that time in that directing first level is so important, to show them each aspect, each part of their job, so that then, like you said, they can develop from there and move to quadrant 2, where you can start to coach them. So my question to you is, when you get to quadrant 2, how does your role change as the manager, as the leader in role 2 from role 1, style 1?
Yeah. And again, so important, Greg, you just said, is that you have to do what you just described, which is sit back and observe, listen, watch, see what's happening to them, and then make an adjustment in your style. Because what happens often is that we have this enthusiastic person that we hired, we're really excited about them, and then a few months down the line, all of a sudden we think, oh, they're not who we thought they were. They're not so enthusiastic. Oh, they've kind of got a bad attitude. I think I made the wrong hire. And then we start to, whether we realize it or not, we turn off of them. And so just when we need to amp up our leadership, we turn it down. And we actually give attention to the people that are enthusiastic again, that, maybe don't need it in the same way. And so we have to fight that instinct and go, wait a minute, let me observe what's happening here. Okay, let me diagnose, let me listen, let me say, oh, I've got to change. It's not unlike, Greg, you and I both have kids. When you're, good parenting is good leadership. And one of the things I always thought was interesting is, as soon as I'd figure out my kids, they would change. And then I'd be like, oh my God, that's not working anymore. I've got to do something different. It's the same with humans, like all ages. So in leadership, in the office, it's a similar thing. I have to go, okay, this person is now not performing well, not doing that. Okay, what do I need to change? A lot of times when people are not performing well, it is a crisis of confidence. So all in the learning, just like when you're learning a musical instrument or learning a language, it gets really hard fast. And then you start to go, why did I do this? Why did I sign up for this? I'm not good at this. I'm never going to learn this. This is like the time when I was young, when I tried to do this and it didn't work. Your brain is going to play all these tricks on you. So as the manager, you need to become coach. I think you're a great example of this, Greg, but you need to be somebody that's that positive voice in their ear that's going, I just want to point out that I know this feels hard to you right now, but I'm noticing that you are doing this so much faster than you did it a month ago, or you are seeing the nuance now that you didn't see before, and that's why it feels harder. Or I'm noticing you did a great job on this call with this client because of the way you handled this situation that you wouldn't have been able to do before, from what I could see.
It makes total sense too, that, if I'm the employee and I've gone from level 1 to level 2, I now understand my role, and that's why it's burdensome, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have X, Y, and Z. I have to be able to do really well, and I've got all these things going on, and that's why my motivation starts to dwindle, because I'm just being like overburdened with everything I'm seeing and need to do. And
Absolutely.
so your coaching is going to help relieve some of that and amp up my motivation and my confidence to be able to work through some of these things.
Yeah, I'm working on coaching somebody right now who's got somebody who just moved into that disillusioned learner space. And the way that it came out was she started to complain. Her direct report started to complain that she has too much work being forced to her and that she needs to learn to speak up for herself. And the reality is that might be true or might not be true. It just is how you feel when you're in that disillusioned learner space. And the feelings are the part that we as a leader have to key into. We don't necessarily have to solve their problems yet or solve their feelings, but we've got to key into them and listen to them, because that's what's going to start to shift them. And so that a good coach, think about it, a coach from those of you who've had coaches in your life, right? A good coach knows you, watches you, can see right before you see when you're on a downslide or when you start to go up in your performance, and really knows how to like play into that, and good coaches will often leave players alone when they're doing really well, right? Because they don't want to screw something up. And that's the same way with us, is that if someone's on a really good performance streak, that's when you can kind of back off. They don't need, they kind of are in their own flow. But when we're in the coaching style, they need us. They need us for their confidence. They need us to go back sometimes and direct them. That's something we don't always talk about, Greg, is that you sometimes have to go backwards. Like if there's a problem with someone's performance, go backwards in how you deal with them. So maybe it's time to go back and give them more direction. Say, hey, listen, I know you're still new at this. I probably went through this really fast. Let's go back and let me work with you on this for a little bit, or let's do this call with this client together. Or I'll sit in and help you so I can give you some notes in real time.
Yeah, and that's where that effective communication comes in, where that feedback loop is continuously starting to be created, where you're able to give direct feedback. Like you said, as the coach, you're weighted towards the positive and catching them doing great things and building on that. However, you want to be able to give straight talk also and be like, this area needs more work. I appreciate the effort, but the task isn't done to task. So I think that's fantastic. I love the difference between directing and coaching. It's super clear. Now, I hope this is helpful for everybody who has joined us to get a little bit of a deeper dive here on amplifying your leadership. Thank you for that. In the next one, we're going to look at the difference between coaching and supporting. This is the most difficult because those quadrant 2 and quadrant 3 are the two that are most challenging to managers. So jump in with us as we continue to look at how to amplify our leadership. Thanks so much.
Thank you.